Oh, there's so much. Obviously, there's so much I haven't seen, but that's part of it. Part of it is embracing the fact that you will never be able to watch everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So try and be a little bit more sort of selective. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to sort of read and maybe even use it as a bit of a guide. I'm sure he touches on a load of movies that are worth sort of
James,
digging
I'm
out. Yeah,
finding, and I'm finding as I'm reading it, I keep flipping between my Kindle and Wikipedia.
yeah, I'm
I'm
not surprised.
nonstop. Like I'm looking up cinematographers. I'm looking up the guy who did the score for Bullet. It's
Sure.
he zeroes in on, like, I just did a whole chapter on Bullet. I'm just going into Dirty Harry now.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
I have I'm not even going to pretend to put myself in the same category as Quentin Tarantino, but I will say that growing up, some of the experiences he had with his love of cinema, I
Hmm.
totally echo of growing up in the
Oh,
70s.
well, I was gonna
I'm
say you're probably the same age, aren't you? Pretty much,
a little
aren't
bit
you?
younger. He's about 4 or 5 years older than I am.
Okay.
And so I think he's early 60s. But he was like 7 when a lot of the blaxploitation, he does a whole thing on the
Oh,
blaxploitation
sure.
films.
Yeah.
And he knows that, and you could see why Jackie Brown came out. It's his homage to that genre, which he really loves.
Yeah, he was born in 63.
Okay, so I'm 66, so 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think it was
Yeah.
as big a gap as that. Oh yeah, I mean like when he sort of he hit not even the first time around, but when he started doing certainly the Kill Bill movies, there
Hmm.
was a big sort of concerted effort by I don't know distributors and by him just to be like, here's all the Asian cinema that I love and that I'm referencing in these movies, and that's where I leapt off and explored a whole wide range of sort of Asian cinema, especially because I just moved here as well.
Right, right.
And so that I was really taking it from him. I was like, okay, so what are all these references in Kill Bill? It's like, okay, well, it's the Lady Snowblood movies and the Female Prisoner
Yeah.
Scorpion movies and Sonny Shiba and all this other and all the old Shaw Brothers stuff. And I was kind of like, okay, cool. And the labels were cottoning onto it all as well, and they were making all of this stuff available for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And so it was really easy to find it suddenly for the first
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And so I just leapt straight in. And so that's where I sort of explored all that. Oh yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I cannot understate how important he was in my own cinema education. You know,
yeah.
he made Reservoir Dogs when I was like 14. And
Okay.
so I was like I was when I was just sort of seriously getting into movies.
Yeah.
And and Reservoir Dogs came
Well,
out and I was
I
just like,
think I
holy
think
shit.
Pulp Fiction's 30 years this year. Which you think
Hmm.
about, that's crazy. 30 years
It is.
since
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction.
94, yeah.
And yeah, but I mean, I remember in the 70s, he talks about his parents, and then later his stepdad
Mm.
letting him go into films that normally, and I love his whole, well, I should complete that sentence, let him go into films that normally would be for adults. But he learned, he said at a young age, and he does like 2 or 3 pages on this, of how he realized, if I want to hang with adults, I got to keep my fucking mouth shut. Don't act like a kid. Don't ask stupid questions. Just, you at the beginning of a movie or at the end of a movie, you can ask a question, but don't ask
Mm.
during the movie. And he just loved being able to hang with adults because adults would allow him to see films he wouldn't normally have been able to see.
For
And
sure.
I thought the same thing because my parents, it's funny, my parents were strict in some ways, but in other ways, totally chill. Because he talks about going to see these crazy double features of movies that no 7 or 8 or 9 year old should be going to see. I remember going to see when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, my parents taking me to see a double feature at the drive-in, Logan's Run and Rollerball.
Wow, nice.
And I still remember that vividly. Not that I made it through Rollerball, being about 10 years old, the second feature. I crashed out, but I ended up watching it subsequently and it becoming
Sure.
a really great movie. Ironically, I just listened to a podcast with Quentin Tarantino where one of the reasons they did the podcast, they're doing movies he has not seen. He had never seen Rollerball.
Wow. I find
Yeah,
that hard to believe. Wow.
it's crazy because when you read this book and even the first 3 chapters, he's talking about movies I had never even heard of. And I like
Sure.
to
Yeah.
think of myself, even if I haven't seen the movie, I've heard of the movie, I know the movie. Forget it, man.
Yeah.
I'm Wikipediaing it and thinking, dear God, there's a plethora out there I haven't got to yet. And I don't have time to work and see my family. I got movies to watch, James.
Well, what I've always appreciated about him is his sort of lack of pretension. You know, clearly, even when he was young and getting into movies, he had no interest in sort of exploring the French New Wave or Italian neorealists or whatever like that. You know, where if you're like dare I say, like me, where you actually went through a sort of a formal film education kind of thing, you focus on German Expressionism and then Italian neorealism and then the French New Wave, and just because those are the sort of the key eras of sort of cinema, and then sort of the new Hollywood of the 60s and 70s. And it's like, okay, cool. Whereas he was just like you say, you know, I'm young and I'm around all these adult movies in the 60s and the 70s, but they're adult movies that just people like my parents and their friends were going to see. So they were like sort of just whatever genre movies were out that week and whatever. And he will has no qualms about holding those in as high regard as
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
unquote art movies. And he's like, well,
Mhm.
you know, that's kind of bullshit. That's pretentious nonsense. I see the value in all this stuff, you
Yeah,
know. And so yeah, I mean he did watch everything, and then obviously for years he worked at a video store and he watched everything. And frankly, I don't know where he found the energy to just watch everything.
yeah.
And he didn't watch
Apparently not
stuff.
rollerball though. Not
Well,
rollerball. Yeah.
there are always going to be
Gaps. Yeah.
gaps, blind
Yeah.
spots. You know, you cannot see everything, and so
Even James Marsh has not.
oh, there's so much. Obviously, there's so much I haven't seen, and
Yeah.
but that's part of it. Part of it is embracing the fact that you will never be able to watch everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So try and be a little bit more sort of selective.
I was actually encouraged because I was thinking there's so many movies he
Mm.
is talking about that I had never seen. And he even, one of the things that really sticks out was going to see Melvin Van Peebles' Sweetback Badass movie.
Which I have seen.
And I have not seen, but he talks about his mother. Curtis was his stepfather,
Mm.
and they were all tearing that movie down. Like he really enjoyed after watching an adult movie, watching the adults either love or praise the film or tear it down. And he said everybody was my stepdad and a couple of the others were tearing it down, but my mother was strangely silent. She didn't say anything about Sweetback,
Sweetback's badass song. Yeah.
badass song, yeah. And he says, but within a year, she'd left the stepdad and only dated black men exclusively for the next three
That's
years.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
I thought she yeah, his sort of stepdads or whatever, or his mum's boyfriends were black
yeah.
guys.
And it came right
Yeah.
after that movie.
Well, there you
Interesting.
go. Very interesting.
Now I got to see
It's
this movie. Yeah.
it's a weird movie. I only watched it
Yeah.
relatively recently, actually. It's kind of not what you would expect. It's not sort of a typical sort of black exploitation movie. It's trying to be
Mhm.
quite. It's very politically aware and it's very experimental and
Mhm.
surreal almost. So it's almost like a kind of art. It's an art film more than anything else, and it's kind of disjointed narratively, and it's really low budget, and so it's quite a commitment to actually sit down and watch it. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like a hugely entertaining movie. It's more of a
Mhm.
kind of okay, I've got to do this for work kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's some
Yeah.
really interesting stuff, and obviously its place in history and what it
Yeah.
accomplished and the doors it opened and all the rest of it is really
Yeah.
important. So,
Well, after that in the book, he goes into I should name the book. I haven't even said it's
I've got it
yeah,
right here actually.
what's it called? Something cinema.
Cinema speculation.
That's it. Cinema speculation. And I finished the Bullet chapter near the beginning. He just breaks down Bullet. And I'm going to confess now, but I don't feel guilty because he didn't see Rollerball, and I've seen Rollerball many times.
Oh, have you never
I've
seen
never
Bullet?
I've never seen Bullet.
Aha.
And he just breaks down Bullet just so well that now when I watch it, I think I'm going to be seeing it through Tarantino's spectacles.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. You know, as I said, that was my entry point to so many movies that watching them because Tarantino said it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I mean, I'm thinking maybe this should be just our next book that we do.
Yeah. Although we're already
Um,
talking about it, but we can do a
right,
part
because
two.
we've said, oh, we should do Planet of the
Yeah.
Apes, oh, we should do Merc and Prometheus. Well, no, we should do this clearly, and then
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
it as a jumping off point to actually review some movies, you
Yeah.
know, as talked about in Tarantino's book. I think that would make perfect, maybe even as we go
Yeah.
along. I mean, if you
We
want to
can
talk about
call it
Bullet, if you want to
the
talk about Bullet,
Tarantino. Yeah. Well, he's gone. I just finished Bullet and he went into Dirty Harry. And I love Dirty
okay.
Harry. It's very
But yeah,
good.
no, I'd be really up for doing that. I can.
Well, go ahead and jump into it. It's not I don't think it's a big read. Is it? How thick is it? I've just got the Kindle, so I can't really tell.
It is no, it's 350 pages, but it's quite big print. Oh yeah, no, I haven't. I don't think I've even really flicked through it. I mean, officially, I'm reading
Yeah.
two other books at the moment already. But
Yeah.
hey, what's another one?
What's another one? What's another
Okay, well
one?
look, yeah, okay, well I'll jump straight in, and then so feel free to as soon as you read about a movie you want to talk about, let me
We should.
know.
Well, maybe we should do Bullet.
Bullet would be cool. Yeah, I haven't watched Bullet in
Yeah.
ages. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Bullet. We can start a new series. In addition to our Every Best Picture, we can do the Quentin Tarantino book series. I don't know, recommend series.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Quentin says, watch
Quentin
Bullet.
says, good, good.
Uh, yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice